Hello everyone, it's Peter. Welcome you back. In last class we talked about AWS batch. We already created a good example for batch processing. Now in this class we need to deploy this batch to AWS batch. To this is core Java code. So let me give a summary of the batch job. So we can still use Spring Boot. Okay? We still use Spring Boot, but instead of see the code, instead of running with a web application, we use as a non-web application. So to make a non-web application, you have to remove all the dependency related to web, like Spring Web, DevTools, and Actuator. Okay, so here in this let's say in this one you have to add this web application type equal to none to ensure that this is not a web application. That's very important. And second thing, in the main app you need to implement command line runner. Okay, so the parameters like bucket name and the file name will be input from the arguments of the run. Okay, and then you can do whatever you do in the this run is the entry point, and then the other things is like the REST service. Right? You can call the service, then service call the DAO to do the file processing. So the batch is designed for those big files which cannot be processed within 15 minutes in Lambda. So that's a batch provides an alternative solution for that. Now here I need to build a Docker image, and then we will call AWS batch. Okay, let's start from here. To build a Docker image, so we need to add a Docker file. Okay, copy. Here, paste. Now here in the POM, I need to go through the POM to see if everything. This is EMP batch. The name is also EMP batch, and then in the final name is EMP batch. So this is very important because of this EMP batch is as a final name. Okay, EMP batch as a final name. So in the Docker file, okay, let's cancel. I need to change this to EMP batch. So I will change all of them to EMP batch. Change here. Change here. That's all about the EMP batch. Even the port number is still exposed to 8080, but actually it won't expose this number because this is a core Java job. There's no web, there's no port number, there's no server at all. This is Docker file. Now let's go to the command line. We'll go to this batch folder. So what we do is Docker build build -t emp batch dot. Okay, let's build a Docker image. Let's build Docker image. Docker image. Let's see. So we used to have the service, right, with 2.0. Then we have a batch. It's the latest one. Now next, I will go to the 3 lines of code here. I already changed it to training repo. The previous slides I use my repo. So I changed to training repo because our repository is called training repo. So I copy out 3 lines because I have to use it. Then I put here. I need to change name. So this one I go to the EMP batch. Right? This one I go to the EMP batch. I first prepare the 3 lines, then I can copy and paste. I don't have to manually input things batch. Okay, to make sure there's all EMP batch. So this is a tag. Then this is a target, and then next line is to log in with your local credential. Now the third line is to push the image. Okay, then push to the image. Okay, then let's go here and duplicate. Let's go to ECR, container registry. This is the training repo. Now here we can see we used to have service 1.0, 2.0. Now we have the latest one is EMP batch 1.0. Okay, so this one I need to copy the URI. So in the future I need to use it as an image URI. So let's go here. Okay, this is the URI. I will use it later. Now next, let's go to the batch. Okay. AWS batch. The procedure of AWS batch is very similar to ECS, okay, Elastic Container Services. So ECS, we have to follow some steps. So if you don't know, you go back to my previous videos to know how to use the ECS. Now, batch is the same. Both of them finally will launch an EC2 instance. Now, the difference is, okay, let's talk about some difference between ECS and the batch. For ECS, usually this Docker image is about the REST API like Spring REST. So for this one, if you launch it, let's duplicate it, EC2. Yeah. So we have a EC2 instance is always running. So it will running 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. It's always running. But for batch, that's a different story. Okay, for batch, it's a different story. If we use a batch, so because this is a core Java job, it's not a server. So if you finish this Java job, if you finish this batch job, then the server will be shut down immediately. It will be shut down immediately. So you don't have to worry about any additional charge. So it's just on demand. So if you start a job, it will launch an EC2 instance, and after job is done, the EC2 instance will be broken. It will be terminated automatically. You don't have to manually terminate this EC2 instance. But you need to config something. If you do the bad config, for example, why ECS is always running, even you terminate it, last time we showed that, even you terminate the EC2 instance in ECS, and it will create a new one because there's a minimum is one, right? At least there's one instance. So it always guarantees there's only one, there's at least one instance running on ECS, right? So you can shut down EC2 instance, and then the ECS will launch another EC2 instance. So every time EC2 instance is different. So the solution is we can use the elastic IP address. Elastic IP address to associate this address to associate this fixed IP address with a dynamic EC2 instance. So when you do the SOAP UI, you always use the fixed IP address. Yeah. So let's have a review of that. And for batch job, so you do the same thing, but you need to make the minimum instance as a zero. It means that after job is done, and it will automatically destroy it. Okay. Now let's start from the batch. So in this batch, there are 3 steps. The first step is create a compute environment. This is old one, so let's create a compute environment. Let's do it slowly. This is managed. Give a name. Let's say let's use it as training environment. Okay. Now next is a role, right? We need to create a service role, so we go to the IAM. Okay. Let's go to IAM. You can create a role. Okay. Yeah, as a test, I already created the batch role, so let's delete this role. Training batch role. Okay, let's delete this role. I will start from scratch. So let's delete it, and we will rebuild it again. I will show you the whole process. Let's delete it. Okay, now create a role. Create a role. We already create a EC2 role, training EC2 role, and training Lambda role, right? And then we this is a batch role. This batch role is not EC2, is not Lambda, so we select from here. We can use batch. Let's say batch. Okay. So let's select batch. Let's say next. So automatically it will provide you AWS batch service role. So this is a default role. So you can see this. Okay, so this is a role definition. Sometimes we need to manually create this one. You can see this definition is EC2 and auto scaling and the ECS, right, and the logs, right? So this row is good enough. So let's go to next. Give a name. I still use the training batch row. Allows batch to create the managed services. So then let's move ahead. Okay. This is the trust entities, and this is add permissions. If you want to add permissions, you can add permissions, but currently we don't need that. Okay, and then let's create a row. Okay, so up to now we create 3 training rows. Training EC2 row to launch that EC2, and training lambda row, and then we should put the lambdas, and this is training batch row. So with this batch row, so I can close it. Go here, then let's refresh it. Let's move down. There's a training batch row. I can select it. So up to now, you should have a very good understanding of the rows, right? We already create some rows. So here you have two choices. One is use target. One is use on demand. Or one is use the EC2. EC2 has on demand or spot. The spot is I didn't mention that. So if you go to the certification of the AWS developer, and they will ask about the spot and on demand. Spot will have you can evaluate the traffic of your EC2 instance, and you can give an estimated price. Right. So if the traffic is too heavy to go over exceeds the expected traffic, then the server will be down. And but you can have a minimum cost for spot. You can get a minimum cost, and on demand is what we usually use on demand. So it's based on your requirement. It's on demand. So here minimum CPUs is 0. You have to save this one, and the design is also 0. If your design is set to 1, then at least it will have 1 instance. So it means that if you launch a batch job and this 2 instance is launched, it will always be there. You cannot terminate it unless you change this setting. And the maximum, we don't need much. We just say 4. That is 4 is maximum, minimum is 0, and desire is 0. Okay. And allowed instance type. So we know the free tier is what? The free tier is a T2.micro, right? That's type. So, but I don't know what type I should use. I just use optional. I use the default one. And this is the best fit of the allocation strategy. And the networking, you can see it select all the subnets, right? It's what we did in our ECS, right? We just select all the subnets. We don't know which one it will select. And then tags. And you can use EC2 tags. I just say this one. This is a training batch server. I use this name, like a training batch server. I don't say training. Okay, I just use another name. Okay, not here. This name I just say name. This is tag. Value I just say the employee batch server. Employee batch server. So this is employee batch server. Let's move down. And now everything is good. Then we create computer environment. Okay, this is training environment. Okay, so here is this minimum is 0, design is 0, and the maximum is 4. Okay, this is training environment. Okay, let's refresh it. So finally, it's valid and enabled. Make sure it's valid and enabled. Then we can go to the second step. Okay, again, first step is create a training environment. Here you need to set up your minimum and the desired and the maximum CPUs. So that is the instances. Each CPU is an instance. So you can have at least 0 minimum, 0 desired, and maximum 4. Okay. And you can add more. Okay, that's fine. The second is job queue. Okay, you have to create a queue. This queue, then let's create it. So because why you say it's a queue? Because there could be multiple jobs, and job 1 maybe depends on job 2, and job 2 maybe depends on job 3. So you can have some dependencies of the jobs. So you have to schedule in the job. So for in this case, so you can use a queue to make them running in an order or parallelly or in an order. Okay. And job queue name. Let's say, sorry. Let's use a different name. So because it's in the training, I just use training queue. Training queue. Priority from 1 to 100, because we only have one job. Doesn't matter is what kind of priority. You can use 50 in the middle one. Others we use the default setting. You can add a tag. You don't have need to add a tag. Go ahead. Yeah, this is important. Select the computer environment. So we use training environment. Okay, so this is valid and enabled and create. So you create a training queue. You create a training queue. Now next you have your job definition. This is like task definition in ECS. ECS you have task definition, right? So this one job definition. So I will create a job definition here. Let's give this one. I just deleted this register. I like to use name. I always want to use a meaningful name like this. So I create a new job. There are two choices: single node and a multiple node parallel. So you can use a single node job. Is all the jobs will be in sequence in a queue. You can also define multiple node parallel. So you can run multiple jobs at the same time. I use single one. The name is EMP job definition. I use this name. Now this is important one. This is execution timeout. Execution timeout. So for Lambda function, by default is 15 seconds, but you can modify it as up to the 15 minutes. Okay, you cannot exceed the 15 minutes. Okay? And in batch job, you can also define the execution timeout. For example, you can use like 5 minutes or even 5 hours, depending on how you define it here. So here I give a small one, like 100, or maybe I can give some more time because later on we will execute a very big file, like with 10,000 records. So I use 300. Hopefully this time is enough. Okay. If it's not enough, I can edit it and give more time. Okay. So this is one thing. Now, and there's no limitation of how much time you can run in the batch, right? You can run as much time as possible. So this is a big benefit of the batch versus the Lambda. Right? Lambda only have 15 minutes. This is always remember. This is very important. Now here I select EC2, okay, and the execution rule. This is default ECS task execution rule, so it's related to ECS. Okay. Now next is the image, right? So I already copied the image. I will use this image. And this is the image. Now here is the command line. Command line. So this one I can input two parameters. It's bucket and file name. I use JSON format. Here is a dummy one. I will give two of them. One is I use a REF bucket. This double column. This is REF file name. Be careful. This is a double column. This is a placeholder. This is a really not the real value of the bucket name and the file name. So when we really run, this is just a job definition. If I really want to run a job, so then that job will give the parameters. This is just a placeholder. Okay. And the required CPU is only one. So memory, I just use 512 megabytes should be enough. So this one I will talk about later about how to change it to the real value bucket and the file name, and then I can have all the default settings, and then there's a retry strategy. That's a more advanced topic. So in the future, I will have some special sessions to talk about the retries in the batch. Now I just create. This is the employee job definition here. I have the revision here. 512. Now, after that, it's not launched yet. I can click this one, and I want to drop a file into the S3 bucket. Okay, now let's go to this data. So I upload the file, add. Let's go to employee 01. So upload. Okay. Now let's. Because currently it's not related to any events So I just make sure there's a file here and this one is here, and I also want to like check my database. Okay. To make sure this employee table doesn't have that 3 records. Okay, only 4 records. That's good. Now, next I want to submit a job. So I define a computer environment. I can define a job queue and I define a job. After that, finally, I will submit a job. Okay, so then I select this job. This is a template. This is a template. So when I submit a job, I will redefine everything. If required, I will override some values like the parameters. So then I submit a new job. The job name is called, you can use tag EMG job. Let's say EMG job. And this is job definition, definition 2. Job queue, you can use the training queue. This is a job queue. Yes, job queue. And execute timeout, that's the same. So in the JSON, so this is a placeholder. So how to inject this value? I need to move down. Here there's a parameters, add parameter. So we have 2 values. One is called bucket, right? It's called bucket. The second is called file name. So bucket is training data 1010. Then I add another parameter is file name, and the file name is this name. Make sure I don't have any typo. I just copy it. Okay, this is the way. So you can only use this way, right? IEF column. If you don't use IEF column and the bucket and the file name will be the fixed value of your command line. Right? If you use IEF, then this bucket will be replaced by this value, and the file name will be replaced by this value. Okay, and then this reset strategy, I don't have to override it. I just submit. Okay. Now, if you refresh it, and you can select job queue. This is a training queue, and then the job is pending or something, I don't know. Refresh, yeah, you can see. Actually, the initial status is, I think there's a pending status, then go to the runnable status, then go to the running status. It's runnable. It's runnable here. And then we can check about EC2. I think a new EC2 instance will be start running. Yeah, you can see employee batch server. You can see the instance type is m4.large. This is not tweet.micro. It's m4.large. So yeah, so it's running. It's now it's in the running status. Let's come back. So it's runnable. Then it's still runnable. So it needs some time because then this is some like disadvantage of the batch. So every time you run a batch, it's not as fast as Lambda. So like Lambda, we just invoke a Lambda, then it will run immediately, right? But for the batch, you have to start a server, EC2 instance. You have to start an EC2 instance, and then it takes some time. But after that, the EC2 instance will be destroyed. We will see that. Okay, it's starting. Okay. It's runnable, then starting. Let's wait for a while. Meanwhile, we can check the logs. Duplicate. CloudWatch will see the logs. This is the log group. So this is batch jobs. Okay, EMP definition. So yeah, this is the latest one. See. Okay. Now you can see that start processing. Save all employees. The file is done. So this is the CloudWatch. If we go to the DynamoDB. So because this processing should be very fast. And in the table, if I go to the employee table, I think all the 3 records is saved. Right? All the 3 through 1000 to 1002 is saved. That's good. Then let's come back to EC2 instance. It's still running. and this job, it should be succeeded, right? So this is the whole process. Right? In the configuration, each step is very, very important. It's very, very important. Now let's wait for a while, and then after a while, this running will be shut down automatically. Okay, but we need to wait for a while. Now next, we submit this job manually, right? We give it the parameter, the bucket name and the file name. So now next, we want to make a connection between the event, between the S3 event and this batch. We want to really drop a file to S3 event, to S3 bucket, and this event will trigger the batch. How to do that? Okay. Still there? Okay, let's wait for a while. And this one, if I refresh, okay. Now in the properties, we already covered this part. We can define an event, okay, event notification. If you create an event notification, see, and it can only trigger Lambda function, SNS topic, and SQS queue. There's no choice for batch. There's no choice for batch. Okay. So there are several ways to do that. One way is use event bridge. Use event bridge. Go back. Go to the property. Let's see. There's a let's see. Event bridge. By default, it's off. You can change it to on. You can edit it. You can save it. By default, it's off, and you can change this to on. Event bridge has more flexible choice for event. But if you use event notification, okay, let's save this change. Okay, make this on. If you use the event notification like this, there's only 3 kinds of AWS resources, services to be checked out, like Lambda, SQS, and SNS. Okay. I will talk about event bridge later. And in this way, I will introduce the step function. Okay. Now, let's check this one. See, it's terminated, right? So I think this is very good for the AWS batch compared with Lambda. Lambda is always there, okay? But AWS batch, after it's finished running, it will be stopped automatically. I don't stop it, and the system will stop it automatically. That's a very good feature. Now, next I will introduce, let me delete the 3 again. I will test another one. Let's delete items, delete. Okay. Now, next, let's move to step function. Yeah. So what is a step function? What is a step function? Step function usually is this one. I think step function was introduced just 3-4 years ago in AWS. The old one is called SWF. It's simple workflow. Simple workflow. So simply saying that you have lots of job to do. You may have a REST API. You may have just some batch job. You may have Lambda. Okay. So for all of them, how do they work together? So for example, you may have a Lambda job, and the Lambda will send an output, and this output will send a batch job or to another Lambda. So you may have multiple Lambdas. Lambda 1 doing job 1, Lambda 2 doing job 2, and there's a batch job doing the job 3. And some Lambdas may be run parallelly, and some Lambda will be run in sequential order. So in a very complicated system, you want to make a coordinate with all the different resources in the AWS, and then step function will come to the picture. AWS step function will manage all the different resources like Lambda function, SQS, SNS, batch, everything, and make a good picture, visualizable picture, to tell you what is going to whom, where is going to which places. Okay. Now, step function is with a statement. Is a state machine. So there are different states. Okay, so we can create a state machine here. That's standard. Let's do next. So you can see this is a visualizable tool. Okay, the basic one is called path. Path. The path is that there's input, there's output. You can call path. You can call like we can pass input from S3 event. I can write some description. So start will have a input from the S3 event, but currently it's not. Okay. So the input, there's output. So I will talk about later. So this is configuration. So then we go to the next. It's very simple. There's a common description. As I talk about a state machine to handle S3 event to process files. Okay, let's give this comment. Start as this one, and then I don't need to change anything. Say next. Okay, the machine I can say employee file state machine. Employee file state machine. Okay, and you can create a new role. Just use default. The login I don't have log at this time. I will after I finish everything I will have logs. Okay. Let's move down. Okay. Create state machine. Okay, so this is a long name. It's employee file state machine. So we can click this one. I can start execution. So this is the input. You can manually make a test. You can run anything and start execution. So it says it's a green. Green means it's working successfully. And you can click this state and you can say step input and output is the same, right? Input, output is the same. I don't do any change. Actually, I can filter out the input parameters and give a different output. But now currently I just use default one. Now our problem is not only this state machine, it's how to invoke this step function. Okay. So this is the execution, right? This is the execution. In less time. So actually, this is already give you a very good logs. I don't need to have a log. I just use this as a log. That's good enough. Okay. Now, next, I need to talk about. I don't want to use this one. Go back to this state machine, and how to trigger this employee file state machine from the event bridge. So now let's go to the event bridge. Okay. In the event bridge, I can create a rule. The rules will tell you which event will trigger which service. So then I start from beginning. So I can create a rule. I can create a rule. The rule name is let's say EMP process rule. Just give a name. Rule to process employee files. Okay, I just give a name. Then entity is default. So we have two choices. One is with the event pattern, and the other is schedule. So some rule is to launch a batch job in a regular time elapse. So for example, every day I want to launch a batch job to get something, to do the reconciliation or to do something. Okay, this is the regular job, like or some job I want to make it running every 10 minutes or every 1 day or every 1 week or every 1 month. Right? So this one is not related to any event. I just give a regular time. And now we select the first one with some event pattern. Okay, let's do it very carefully, step by step. Click next. So here I just use AWS events or event bridge pattern events. Okay, simple events I can skip it. I move down all the way down, so I don't have to change the source. The source is from AWS event, and then this I need to select a specific AWS source. So I need to select S3, so it has simple storage service, and the event type I can add it like it's Amazon S3 event notification, right? Notification. Okay. And then I can specify the event. You can use any event like drop a file, delete a file, update a file, but I want to use a specific event which is object created, which is just upload a file. Okay. And I can also specific bucket, so not any other bucket. So this bucket is I use training. I still need to copy this. Okay, object this one. So this is my bucket. Then after I finish all of them, I just say next. Okay. So this is a select target. Okay, target is AWS service. So this target I will input the step function, state machine. Right? And then I select the machine. The machine is the employee file state machine. Okay. Then I can create a new row with specific resources. So I use a new row. Then I say next. Then next. This is a review. This target, tags, create rule. Now we have EMP process rule. Okay. So this rule will connect any file job to the training-1010 training data, that bucket, any event in that bucket with object created event to my step function. Now, next. Now here I want to upload it again. Upload the employees. Okay. Upload and close. Okay. To see, then let's come back to not batch, the step function. Okay, state machine. Okay, then go to this one. So you can see I have the second successful running status. Click here. See, I go here. Then you say input. See, this is the input. Let me copy it. Copy here. Okay. Let me format it. I have plugin. JSON will format JSON. So this is the input from our job event, right? So in this one, the key point is in the details, right? So others is ID, time, region, those things, and the resource. So in the details, we have bucket, and bucket have name is this name. This is what we want. This one will be transferred to the job, to the batch job, and the object is the key, and this is the size. This is the size. Okay. Now. So this is the key information. So we want to get those information to the output. So because this is input, I don't want this as output. I want output to only contain the useful information, including the name, the key, the bucket name, the file name, and the size. The three information. So based on the size, I will determine should I go to the lambda function or go to the batch. Okay. Now let's move ahead. Now we can edit this one. Okay. Let's edit the machine. So we can go back to the workflow studio. So in the input, there are two ways. One is the filter input and the input path. So for this one, for example, you can use $details. Okay, you can go $detail. Dollar is the whole input, and the dot is the underlying field. If you see $detail, that's the filter output with the input path, then you can apply and exist. So here you can see the input path is this one, and output will only be the details. So let's save it. Save anyway. Save it. Okay. Let's come back. Then I will run it again. I will delete this one and delete. Okay. Now let's drop another file. Let's upload. I can use a text file, right? Let's use another file. Upload. It will also trigger the step function. Let's refresh it. Okay, that's the third one. Now let's see what's the input and the output. Because this is very important after we know the payload of the input. So we can go to the output as we expected. Okay. Now let's go to this one. The input is still the big one. The output, you can see, is the bucket, right? So this output, let's copy this one. You can compare it. So you can see this one. Let's format it. So it's only the detail part, right? It's this part. This is output. This is $.detail. You can do whatever you like. You can still use a dot again, a dot to get the more detailed output. But here we want everything about this one, right? This is this things, right? So here, no. So I think this is good. So I already explained this. So here, the step input and step output. Output because we let's edit the state machine. So we already sent the input path from the $.detail. So this one will go to the output. Go to the output. Now we still need to edit it. So I talk about the first way for the input. That is input with the input path. That's one way. Now I want to use the second way. The second way is transform input with parameters. So that is I build my own JSON data. I don't use the input data, but I can get some information from the input data. Okay. Now I want three things. One is, let's go to the, okay, because this information I need to have another one. So yeah, I need this one. Let's do this one. Let's I need a size, I need a file name, I need a bucket. Then I don't need anything else. I don't need anything else. So this is a JSON format. Let's format it. Okay, let's copy it. Then I will explain what happens here. Okay. Now here, you can see it's the detailed object size. Let's go back to let's go to step function. I can see the execution like this one. Let's see the input. And I will compare it. So this dollar is the input. $.detail, right? Dot object dot size is this size, right? This is this size, and this is $.detail dot object dot key, right? This is a key, and the bucket is $.detail dot bucket name. Yeah, so that's what we need. So here in the key part, so because this is a key value, right? So in the JSON file, so I have used dollar as I mean this dollar will be mapped to a variable from the input. If I don't have dollar, then this becomes a string. The whole will becomes a value. The dollar will not be work anymore. Only after you have dollar, that's a fixed value. That's dynamic value. You have the dollar here. So let's go back. So let me close this one. Let's go back here. It means that the size, file name, and the bucket with $dollar means that three variables will be the variable from the input. The input will have dollar dot something. Okay. So with this one, then let's apply and exit and save. Save anyway. Okay. Now after this one, you can see this is parameters. Now let's run it again. Delete. Close. To pass parameters between step functions is a very tricky one. It's a very tricky one. Now let's do it again. Upload, add file. Let's add this file again. Okay, close. Now let's go back to the step function. So let's refresh. So I get another one execution. So let's click this one. This is the input. So this is output. This is what we expect we want the bucket and the file name and the size. The bucket and file name will be transferred to the batch. So we need to add another one, right? And then the file name also will be transferred, and the size will be the identifier to verify, do I need to go to the Lambda or do I need to go to the batch, right? So now let's design this one again. Edit state machine. Now go to workflow. Now next, I already talked about the path, right? That's the first step. I will pass the input from the S3 event, and then next I will use a choice. Okay, add data. The choice I just check size of the file. This choice actually is an if-else condition, right? If this one or that one. So this is the row one and the default one. Okay. Now let's go to the size of the file, and we have row one and the default row. So row one is add condition, right? We can add condition. So we want the variable is $.size, right? Is from the output of the first stage is the input of the second stage, right? The size will be if it's greater than, like value type is a number variable, is greater than say 1000. Okay. I have 1000 records, should be 1000, and then save condition. Sorry, not the number variable, number constant. Sorry, then 1000 save condition. So if size is bigger than 1000, then this is the state. If size is less than 1000, it is this state. Okay. Now for this state, I just add a path. Later on, I will add as a submit a job. So now currently, I just add another path. Add two paths. Okay. One path is the size greater than this one, and then another one is the default one. Default one is use Lambda to handle to process file. Okay. Later on, I will replace it with a Lambda function, and this one is use batch to process file. Okay. And then we can make a test. This is a state machine. Then let's apply and exist and save. Okay. So from here, you can see we have a very good state machine. So it passes input from S3 event with the size, file name, and bucket. Then in the choice, okay. So the choice, the variable is size. Size is greater than 1000, and then use batch to process file. Default is use Lambda to process file. So we have two states: use batch or use Lambda. Okay. Now, next, let's drop the file again. Let's delete it. We can see two different files. Permanently. Delete. I don't like this permanently delete. It's not easy to type. Just delete is good. Now let's upload. I upload two files. First, I add a file with a small file, employee01. This is less than 1000 bytes. Upload, close. Now go to set function. Okay. So I have a new execution. So you can see first the input is here, and the output is the bucket file name and size, and check size. Okay, and check size, and then we'll go to, because size is less than 1000, we'll go to this one. This lambda, this is input, this is output. Right. Now I will drop another file. Upload another file, which is a bigger one. This is employee2. Then upload. Okay. Now in the step function, I think we will have another one, right? It's success. Okay. In this one, you can go to left side. This is a choice, right? Of course, this if else can have more conditions. If condition 1, go to the state 1. If condition 2 is go to the state 2. Otherwise, go to the default, right? So from here is step input. Output is the size is big, right? It's 200K, 220 209,000. That's a big one. Size, and then go to this one. Use batch to process it. So this is just roughly talking about the step function. So next class, so I will replace this batch with the real batch and replace this with a lambda. Okay, and finally finish the whole file processing. So let's have a review. So in the file processing, okay, it could be a big file or it could be a small file. Okay. If I drop some file to the S3 bucket, so we use step function, we will invoke a step function using the event bridge, and then use a choice to check its size. If size is big, then we will submit a batch job. If size is small, we will invoke a lambda function. Okay, that's all about the step function, and next time we will do it. We will replace the two states, one with the batch and the other with the lambda. Okay, thank you.